Well, welcome to the Blaze Farm online, socially distanced Christmas wreath making course. It's a bit of a mouthful, wasn't it? I hope you've all clicked and collected your kit from Blaze Farm. So put your feet up with a brew, open a bottle, get out that big tub of Blaze Farm ice cream, sit down and watch me giving you a refresher course of how to make your Christmas wreath, a fabulous one for your front door. So I'm going to put this on one side. And our first job is to wire up everything we put in the wreath. Now, if you're wiring a piece of holly, we take off the bottom leaves. So we've got a nice little stem. We take one of the stubbing wires, bend the top over into a loop, place it on the stem, and then a couple of quick twists, and you've got a nice stem. You've got a loop supporting the stem of the holly, and you've got just 2 pieces of wire around there. If you put 3 around it, your wire's going to be too short. So let's do a piece of greenery, just the same. Lay it on the top, quick couple of twists, and it's done. I do see people sometimes, and they're sort of trying to wrestle it, as though they're trying to strangle it. They put it down there and they go like this, and they sort of try and twist it round and pull it. Because the wire's quite stiff, you feel like you've got to really do it firmly. Now you end up with the same thing, but you're going to get repetitive strain injury by the time you've finished. So learn to do it in a completely relaxed way. Just keep your hand well below the stem. Then you can just do a couple of quick twists. There's my fingers down there, and it's held perfectly firm. You wire everything separately. Here's some berry. Sometimes you only have a very short stem with the berry because of the way it grows, and you'll notice there's no leaves on it. I do it just on its own. Sometimes wire cones are a little bit tricky because they grow along a branch. So what we do is we put the wire along the branch a couple of times round, or sometimes only once, and then we pull the wire at right angles down to the cones so that they stick upwards. Now, I said that we always wire everything individually, but if you have some very small bits of greenery, have a look down here, see what we've got, then you're allowed to put a couple of bits together. If you put more than that, I know the temptation is to do a great big bunch of it, but you'll lose them, they'll drop out. But you can put a couple together, but don't be tempted to add, oh, I think I'll put a bit of berry in that or something. It'll all go pear-shaped, don't do it. Right, when you've got a selection of the ingredients, if you like, wired up, then we can start with the fun bit, making the wreath. Now, I put the wreath, because I'm right-handed, on my left hand, palm upwards, thumb over the top, and I take a fairly large flat bit of greenery to start with, and I push it straight down, hold it in place with the thumb, find the wire at the back, wrap it round, and make sure the point is buried in the moss. To get another piece, put it almost on top. Don't rush around and think you can put all the greenery on round it and then go back and add things. Keep concentrating on the area where you're working on. Now, I'm covering the moss, and I'm also aiming outwards by about a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches. If you do the Catherine wheel and stick them straight out, you're going to end up with a wreath that's about 3 feet across. So make sure you handle them inwards. And you do a blend of different hollies and greenery, and you keep putting them one on top of the other, making it nice and thick. It doesn't matter where that point goes, as long as it goes into the moss so you don't prickle yourself. It's not like embroidery. You don't have to have a really neat back on it. And you can see I'm building up some layers. I've got different textures, I've got glossy, I've got different foliages, and I just keep working round, keep moving it round, and keep putting different things one on top of the other, not rushing, just getting them going round at an angle. Now I'm demonstrating on a 10-inch wreath ring, and as normal you'll be getting an 8-inch wreath ring, because I know what you like. You always do much bigger wreaths because you stick them out a bit further than I do, and I like to keep mine quite compact. So once you've gone round and done a short distance, I'm going to put a little bit more in because you can't go back and add. You want to really pack it and build it up. And then when you've done one area, you can start to think about putting some decoration in it. And in the kit we've got some berry, and I'm going to go straight down and not back here where I'm working. I'm going to put it right over there, right down in the middle. You can see now why we don't put leaves, keep the leaves on the berry, because don't bury your berry is one of my sayings. So you've got your berry in there, and I'm going to put one of the cones at the side of it. Again, find the back. It can be a bit tricky when you've got lots of things in to find the end. You might just have to just bend the end over and push it back up. And you can get the idea now that we're building up a little area, like a little arrangement. And basically we keep repeating this. Make sure the glossy side of the holly is coming upwards. Don't add your decoration till you finish that little area. And whatever you do, go in the same direction. I always say it's like playing a violin. You've got your violin there, this is your bow. Your bow is what you're putting in, and you're doing that with it. I know what happens, you start to look at it and then you start to do this. Or you won't go to try and feed in behind it. But just be methodical, keep working around, and it'll all turn out wonderfully. Right, so in the grand tradition, here's one I made earlier. And I'm going to show you what we do to finish the wreath off. Right, that's a break. Now when I sorted my kit out, I picked out some special bits. You'll find there'll be 1 or 2 nigella heads, or maybe your best bit of cone. I found a few dandly bits of conifer, and we have a couple of bits of ivy, trailing ivy, which I've wired at the end. So I'm going to do something at the bottom to make this a bit of a feature. So I've left a small gap, and I'm going to add the dandly bits in first, because I put those horizontal, straight through the edge of the wreath. And I've wired them separately because otherwise you can't manipulate them and put them exactly where you want if you try and put them together. So I'm going to put another piece there, say. You can adjust them when it's on your door. Sometimes it's difficult to find the end when you're pushing it in horizontally right through it. Now, I've got a nice bit of fan-shaped, so I've got a couple of those, so I'm going to put those sort of down at an angle there, so that they sort of marry it in with the main body of the wreath. And another piece there. Like that. I know some of you like to put cinnamon sticks, oranges, all sorts of bits and pieces, feathers. You wire them the same, although the orange slices you wire over the edge of the orange, not in the middle. And there will be some packets of those at Place Farm for you to collect when you collect your kits. So I've got a nice fluffy bit in the middle to try and fill it in. I've got, oh, there's a few more of these dandly bits of conifer. I'm going to put those in there. Another bit here. Just come out of the top, doesn't matter, as long as it's hidden. And I've got a nice bit of variegated holly with something on. This might be a place where you put a special ornament you've got at home. I know some people bring 1 or 2 baubles in and things like that, or a special Christmas decoration that they use every year. So you can make that as a centrepiece, or say a bundle of cinnamon sticks or something like that. Now, I'm going to put that piece in there. And then, say I've saved my best berry, so I can get a nice big clump of berry in the middle. Again, sometimes it's difficult getting the stem through where it's thick on. And I'm going to put my large cones in. I'll use large cones rather than pine cones because they don't close up in wet weather. Put a bit of nigella there, go completely over the top. Let's put that in as well. Now you could stop at this. This is everything in the kit, with just those dangling down, shape them on your door. But if you want ribbon, there will be some ribbon available for you. Now, I tend to like the ribbon fairly natural and just dangling down below it. So I would wire the ribbon halfway with just a loop over it and wrap it round. And then you can just push that in underneath with everything else horizontal. That just gives it a little bit of extra. If you do want to make a bow, that looks even so that each side is balanced, don't tie it as an ordinary bow. What you do is you get a piece of ribbon and you make a collar around the back like that, and you bring the back of the collar in to there, and then you wrap your wire around the middle so you don't get a big knot in it, and then the sides are even. So if you bear that in mind when you're making your ribbon, that's one way of doing it, but you end up with something like this which hasn't got a heavy knot in the middle. You can always put something else in the middle, like some pine cones when you put it on, but I tend to like a little natural arrangement there and a couple of dangly bits of perhaps hessian. So that's the finished wreath. Put a little bit of wire through the frame at the back to hang it on your door, or a piece of ribbon through the back there on the top edge of the wreath ring. And enjoy making your wreath, and I hope you have a very good Christmas. Thank you.